Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in today's episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session that I did with a lady who was struggling with anxiety about relationships. And in essence, and I'm describing this because I think a lot of people can relate to this, but maybe not to the same severity. But in her case, when she was in relationships, she would get very, very anxious and overthink things. So if she attempted to call or message the person that she was seeing and he didn't reply quickly enough, she would overthink that. If there was an expression or a tonality, she would then overthink what it means. And essentially it meant that she was in such a high level of stress that she arrived at the conclusion that it was actually better for her to not be in a relationship than to have all of this kind of anxiety and overthinking. What was clear, though, is that in other areas of her life, she could have much more balance and be in a much more resourceful state. So in her profession, she was able to be highly, highly resourceful, even though there was lots of variables outside of her control. And in her friendship groups, she was able to get that balance of being respectful that her friends were other people, but not overthinking what everything meant. And certainly not overthinking if she attempted to call them and they didn't call back. So the purpose of this hypnosis session that you're about to listen to is actually to tap into the resources that she has in other areas of her life and then apply it to how she could be, and I say could to anchor it into the future, how she could be in future relationships. So you're going to hear an element of association, then disassociation from the actual version of her because she hasn't accessed those resources yet, and then associating into those resources within the very context that are quite common when she's in the beginning stages of a relationship. There's also a metaphor about the, let's say, the waves on the ocean in this, and the waves on the ocean represent her overthinking. So when the waves are kind of violent and kind of stormy, that represents her overthinking. And the sea is not an enjoyable place to spend time in stormy waters. However, at the end of the session, the seas then become very calm and inviting. And of course, the seas are a nice place to spend time if the waves, are very low. And what this really represents is to what relationships mean for her. She's been avoiding relationships for a long time because she didn't enjoy being in the relationship because of the choppy waves, because of the intrusive and compulsive thoughts. So by having the waves being calm, that then paces this belief system that actually relationships can be enjoyable and desirable if there's an absence of that overthinking. And there was an absence of that overthinking in these other areas of her life that we were linking the resources to. If you're listening to this and you think this is kind of like useful for you, you can also get a free download version of this. So you don't need to hear it on Spotify by clicking the link nearby and using the coupon code FREE. So there's that resource. And if you have anxiety in general or in specific contexts like relationships or like your career or maybe a phobia, there will be a link nearby to book a free 30-minute consultation call with me where I can talk through how I work and what I would do for you if we were working one-on-one. Because I think what most people don't really comprehend is that when you listen to these hypnosis episodes, this is just the very end of quite a long session. And before that, there is a lot of questions being asked to kind of piece it all together. So when you hear the hypnosis, that may or may not be relevant for you, but it was created for someone else with different circumstances. So that's really the advantage of working with me one-on-one, is to have a bespoke experience. if that makes sense. So find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow feelings of tension or stress to leave your body. That's right. And notice that as you breathe in and you breathe out with your eyes closed, it's natural to give more of your attention, your focus, your concentration to the sound of my voice. As you breathe in and breathe out, I want you to just imagine a bright, warm color representing a resourceful feeling. And maybe that resourceful feeling is a feeling of being in control even when you're not in control. And maybe that resourceful feeling is a feeling of feeling confident and safe in your own skin. And as you breathe in that bright, warm color of resourcefulness, accept that as you breathe out, things that are no longer needed here are leaving your body. Maybe it's worries, maybe it's tension, maybe it's stress. And just use the power of your mind to imagine that those things leaving your body are a darker color. Shadows, perhaps greyness. So as you see that bright warm colour going in through your nose, notice that what leaves is a darker colour. That's right, deeper and deeper relaxed. I want you to use the power of your imagination to picture a beach. And maybe this beach is far away, maybe it's a beach you've been to before. But when you can get a sense of that beach, just let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine that you're not just seeing the beach, but you're now on that beach. I want you to imagine it's a sunny day, blue skies, and when you can feel what it would feel like to be on that beach looking at the sea, just let me know by nodding your head. I want you to get a sense that here on this beach, it feels far away from real life. I want you to get a sense that right now you're seeing a beach perhaps a day or two after a big storm, and maybe that storm was 100 miles off the coast, and you're still seeing the size of big waves. I want you to get a sense that it's a sunny day. Feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, but get a sense of what it would be like for big, almost volatile, aggressive waves. It looks choppy and stormy there on the surface of the waves. And if you can get a sense of what it would be like to be on a lovely beach but with bigger waves than normal, just let me know by nodding your head. I want you to get a sense that these waves represent the intensity of thoughts, of emotions that you have had up to now in terms of how you've evaluated relationships, potential relationships, whether or not you even want to be in a relationship. And I want you to get a sense that while this gives excitement, while it gives drama, what you would prefer is perhaps calmer waters on the waves. And if that sounds like that would be a desirable outcome, to still have waves, but the waves be lower, so that the sea is something you can actually enjoy and swim in, rather than either be in the intense sea or no sea at all. Just let me know by nodding your head. I want you to get a sense that somewhere on this beach is a beautiful and relaxing bed. And there is absolutely no reason why a luxurious, comfortable bed should be on a beach, but yet here it is. And I want you to imagine making yourself comfortable on that bed. Fresh, clean linen, the smell of the freshness of the fabric, big comfortable pillows, and I want you to make yourself comfortable there on that bed, looking out at the choppy waves on the shore. I want you to get a sense that here on this bed you're able to have a nap, and when you nap you're able to think, and when you think you're able to daydream, and accept the idea that daydreaming is just the interface between your conscious and your unconscious mind. And you know that to be true because some of your best ideas have came through your imagination when your mind was wandering. So as you feel the weight of your head on the pillows and your body on the softness of the fabric, maybe a sheet or a duvet, get a sense of sinking into that comfortable bed there on the shore. Feel the warmth of the sun on your skin and get a sense that you are going deeper and deeper, relaxed. In fact, I will count down from 10 to 1, and with each descending number, you will imagine what it would be like to feel deeper and deeper and deeper relaxed there on that bed. Starting to count 10, eyelids getting heavier and heavier and heavier. That's it, releasing any and all tension around your eyes, your eyebrows. Releasing that tension now. 9, feeling like the muscles around your forehead, your jaw, your cheeks become aware of any tension, any stress. Breathe in that resourceful feeling of relaxation, and then that's it, 9, on your outward breath, just release that tension now. That's it, 8. Feeling that relaxation is now going down into your neck, into your shoulders, releasing that stored tension, any stress that you might have. That's it, release that tension now. 7, going into your arms, all the way down your arms. That's it, feeling deeper and deeper, relaxed. 6, more and more comfortable now. As your mind goes inwards, you lose the sound of those waves, feeling deeper and deeper relaxed, as even your internal organs start to relax now. Your heart relaxes, lungs relax. 5 and then 4, even your gut relaxes. All of those internal organs start to relax as you drift off inwards, and your mind starts to entertain the idea of a different future. 3, legs getting heavier and heavier. 2, feeling like you're letting go of a lot of stored tension. Those old beliefs you've been holding on to for a while, you can let them go now. You're intelligent enough to know that when things stop working, you replace them with something that works better. And for a while now, you've been experimenting with certain ways of thinking, ways of believing that haven't served you. If you had a piece of computer equipment that wasn't working, you'd replace it with something that did. And these beliefs and ways of thinking have been holding you back. Isn't it time to replace them with something more useful? And I wonder what it would be like as you start to imagine falling asleep there on that bed on that beach, what it would be like to access parts of you that already exist in a new way, a way that you can tap in to you at your very best. You know what you're like at your most resourceful. Even if chaos is happening around you, you are like a swan on the surface of a lake. Nobody knows how hard you're paddling underneath the surface. You look smooth and elegant as you just drift. You at your most resourceful is unflappable. And if you know that to be true, let me know by nodding your head. And then recall how you are in friendships. In friendships, you don't have an all or nothing approach. You have empathy, understanding, an ability to evaluate things, to be discerning. You have balance. I want you to recall one specific time where you see you as a friend and know that you have balance. You're not willing to tolerate anything, and you're not willing to tolerate everything. There are boundaries, there is respect, but there is also mutual benefit. You benefit from being in the friendship, but you contribute towards those friendships. And if you can see that version of you, where you have balance in friendships, let me know by nodding your head. And therefore we can accept that there is a part of you that can be ultra resourceful, unflappable, not worried about what's happening outside of you because you trust your ability to do the best you can with whatever is going on. And we can accept that there is a version of you that has balance, that even if the dynamic is people, different people with different values, different ways of looking at the world, different responsibilities, you can still access that version of you that is able to be balanced. And then recall that you have the ability to access passion, enthusiasm, intensity, but also sometimes that is an all or nothing element of you. And I wonder what it would be like to tap into something slightly different. Using the power of your imagination, I want you to imagine what it would be like to see a confident version of you that has the ideal components of all three of these ingredients. Seeing yourself highly resourceful and unflappable. Seeing yourself balanced. Seeing yourself with the right element of passion and energy and enthusiasm. And we can call that version of you confidence. And allow your mind to create an image of you that has this ideal balance. And I want you to see your facial expressions, perhaps even the clothes that you're wearing, your body language, your breathing. And at the point where you can see this confident version of you, able to have the right element of resourcefulness, understanding, empathy, but also passion and energy and enthusiasm. When you can see that version of you, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to get a sense that this is one of many different possibilities of you. But I wonder what your future would be like if this version of you was the version of you that you were accessing at key times, rather than a insecure, anxious, controlling version of you. Let's allow that other version of you to accept that they've tried to make things work for a long time and it hasn't worked with them. And let's try this other part, giving it an opportunity to test drive you in these similar kind of dynamics. And if your unconscious mind is willing to give a different part, you at your best, you at your most confident and resourceful, an opportunity to test drive different elements of you being in a relationship or considering a relationship, just let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to project this version of you into a situation where you can see them on a phone, maybe a smartphone, and maybe the old anxious version of you would be on that phone pacing around, but I want you to see this version of you in a different posture, in a confident, in control posture. You can tell from their facial expressions that they're handling these phone calls differently than maybe a different version of you would have handled them. Maybe they're smiling more. Maybe they seem more relaxed, and you can just tell from how they're breathing and their facial expressions. They know they're resourceful. They know they have balance. They know they have a lot to offer and to give. And I want you to see how that version, that confident version of you, is handling text messages or phone conversations with either a partner or a potential partner. See how they handle those situations. Maybe you see them more relaxed. Maybe you see them going with the flow. And maybe it reminds you of how you are when you communicate to friends. Listening without going to the trouble of evaluating or finding any hidden meaning. Notice how confident you look there with the phone. Could be replying to a text message, but you're doing it in a very calm, relaxed way. See that version of you. Maybe even having a phone conversation, but pay attention to your tonality. How relaxed you sound. How confident you sound. How playful you sound. And if you get a sense that this version of you is much more suited to the interactions of dealing with someone that you're in a relationship or considering a relationship with, just let me know by nodding your head. And only when you're convinced that that version is more suited, I want you to climb into that version of you. So now you can feel the phone in your hand, maybe up against your ear, or seeing the screen where you're writing or replying to text message, but tap into that feeling where you have that resourceful, unflappable feeling. A feeling of confidence, of balance, but also of playfulness, of passion. And notice how much better this feels. And notice that just because you're open to the idea that something could be good or even wonderful, you're also vigilant. There is this overriding premise here that just because something is good at one point in time doesn't mean it can always be good. And the way that you keep yourself safe is by asking yourself the question, knowing what I now know, is this still a good use of my time, my energy, my emotions, my resources? And if it isn't, well then, you have the ability to communicate your concerns, your frustrations. It isn't end it. In some cases, it's mend it. How can you articulate what's important to you, what your needs are? How can you do that in a way to bring things back on track? And only if when you attempt to improve things, you can't, then ending something is a logical, natural, and sensible decision. But why would you preempt things too quickly? And when you get a sense that here in this place, you always have the ability to make a new decision, but you can make that decision in a thoughtful, confident, pragmatic, balanced way, without feeling anxious or insecure, but from a position of strength and positivity. Just let me know by nodding your head. Hold on to that feeling. Notice where that feeling is. How good it feels to feel resourceful, in control, balanced and happy while still communicating in this way. And then jump out of your body and then see yourself in a different context. See yourself now in a face-to-face conversation. Maybe with someone in particular, but not necessarily. This is either a relationship, a previous relationship, or a possible relationship. And the goal here is purely to test drive you at your most resourceful, feeling balanced, feeling calm, feeling confident. That's right. See yourself with that facial expression, that way of breathing, that body language that says, this is you, confident. This is you, resourceful, unflappable. You can hear your tonality. You can see your smiles. And even if there is important conversations, meaningful conversations taking place, you can still feel relaxed, confident, unflappable, balanced, knowing that at any point in time there might be new information here that means that when you evaluate something, you decide this is exactly what you want and invest more of your energy, or you evaluate that it isn't and decide to wind something down. But the ethos here is not to preempt, to presuppose. This is to explore possibilities. This is test driving something to explore if it makes you feel good, if it adds value to your life. And when you see that version of you, and you're convinced that that version of you is much more suited to have these face-to-face conversations maybe than the previous version of you that did it from a position of anxiety and maybe less resourceful emotions, when you're convinced that this version of you is much better suited, let me know by nodding your head. And then find yourself in that body. So you're now looking at that person through your own eyes, feeling that sense of confidence, resourcefulness, feeling what it feels like to be unflappable, to weigh it all up, to respond, not to react, to gather all the information, to communicate your needs, your boundaries, but also to figure out how you can add value, how you can make that person feel wonderful. Because in the same way that they might not be right for you, maybe you aren't right for them. This isn't about validation or rejection. This is about synergy. This is about seeing if you help them and they help you, if both of you feel better when you're together than when you're not. But you can do that from a position of strength and confidence. And then leave this version. And then see yourself alone, left with your own thoughts. But see yourself left with your own thoughts, looking confident, unflappable, resourceful. That the thoughts aren't controlling you, they're just information for you to evaluate. And notice you're so much more discerning with those thoughts. Asking yourself, is this even true? Is this useful? How can I use this thought? Positive emotions give you insight, but also worries and concerns aren't accepted as truth. Just information to consider. And see yourself that when you're in that positive, resourceful state, that you are able to spend time with your thoughts in a cool, calm, confident manner. With your friendships, you aren't overthinking every phrase, every event, every expression. Sometimes you just take people as they are. And your intuition lets you know if you want to spend more or less time with them. And in doing so, notice. Notice that your life is more balanced and you can explore the possible scenarios where you get to have more connection, intimacy, and enjoyment in your life and still keep yourself safe by being discerning, by asking yourself the question, knowing what I now know, is this still a good use of my time, emotion, and resources? And then find yourself there on that bed on the beach, realizing that all of this was just your imagination, exploring an alternative version of you where you access more of these resources that you already have. Just entertaining the idea of you at your most resourceful, unflappable, confident, and balanced means you get to explore more of what you want from a position of strength, from a position of value. As you feel yourself there on that bed, imagine getting up out of that bed on that white sandy beach, looking at the waves and then noticing that something's changed. Those big, volatile, crashing waves are now much calmer. The sea that was a scary place that you wanted to avoid is now an inviting place. And it's not to say that every sea is safe. You still need to be sensible. But this is now a sea that you want to swim in. A sea that looks inviting, calm, warm waters. You associate that this is a good place to spend your time. And as you entertain that this sea is now inviting because it's calmer, get a sense that it is now this confident, resourceful, unflappable version of you that wants to swim. That anxious, overthinking version of you has been swimming in choppy waters for a long time, that it's now happy that this confident, unflappable, balanced version of you is happy to dive into that water. Feel yourself swimming in that water with a sense that you have unlocked all the resources to do this in a way that feels great, that feels good. And at any point, you can choose to swim to a different part of this sea, to leave the sea and just spend time on the beach, or to spend more time in the sea. And you don't have to guess whether or not you want to be in the sea tomorrow, because doesn't it depend what the weather is like tomorrow? You can just decide what you feel like doing now, enjoying the moment in the moment, knowing that you have the resources to swim and enjoy this time in the water. And then you leave the water. You leave the water with a sense of strength and confidence, feeling that you have a better connection with the sea now than you did before, and feeling that you've unlocked a part of you that is much more suited to handle these situations differently than maybe you have in the past. And if all parts of your conscious and subconscious now agree that you will unlock the very most resourceful, confident, balanced version of you in these kind of situations, just let me know by nodding your head. As you realize that all of this, including the beach and the sea, and all these different versions of you are just thoughts within thoughts, ideas within ideas, dreams within dreams, and actually, you're listening to me firmly in the present. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, get a sense that you're in your own physical body right now. As very soon I'm going to count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken feeling confident, feeling resourceful, feeling that you have more options and possibilities now to live life not as an all or nothing, on or off, but as a part of you that can find a balanced way of making great choices as to what to think, what to feel, and how to spend your time. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3. Starting to wake. 4, 5, 6. More alert. 7, 8. Open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10. Wide awake. Wide awake. Wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.